I'm from a really tiny town in the Texas Panhandle called Dumas. And in this little town of Dumas, there wasn't much going on. There was no hot rods, there was no custom work. There was nothing like that. It was just a small farming, ranching town. When I was 13 years old, this movie came out on television. There was this car, and the name of the show was called The California Kid. I'd never seen a hot rod in my life. So I asked my dad, I go, "Hey Dad, what kind of car is this?" You know, and he was watching it on TV with me. He goes, "It's a 32 or a 34 coupe or something like that." That car burned this image in my brain. 70s came along, the BMX came along, and a friend of mine named Terry Winkleman, he moved from Phoenix, Arizona area, and he was a BMX champion back in Arizona in 75. I'd never heard of Webco or Redline or anything like that, and Terry brought that knowledge, saving my money, and I bought a Redline squareback BMX frame when I was 14. I put all my shitty Schwinn parts on this frame until I could afford to upgrade the forks and upgrade the rims and upgrade the crank. Rode the wheels off of it. Well, when I was 14, I got the dream job of my life, working at Ronnie's Yamaha Country, putting motorcycles together. I got pretty proficient at building those 70s motorcycles, and I was just loved motorcycles. Well, when I was 15, I got a YZ125 and started racing on the local tracks, you know. Okay, over here, this is part of my history here. This is my very first motorcycle. It's unrestored. It's a 1976 YZ125. Got it when I was 15. And then as I started racing, I got sponsored by a local Suzuki dealer, and this is a 1978 RM125. We put Simon's forks on it, LOP swing arm, Fox Air shocks. It's a Fox factory head, and this is the bike I raced up until 79 when I decided I was going to go find a 34 Ford three-window. So this kind of is the machine shop area, if that's what you want to call it. It's not really, you know, I'm not a machinist. I machine by sight, you know. Then this is my 1942 bandsaw. It was used down in Long Beach during the war years. The dewalls are nearly indestructible. This gets into the sheet metal area where I make my door skins and panels. This is my Pullmax. I found this in Lubbock, Texas, of all places, back during the years when we were searching for equipment. This is my Yoder. I got this machine in the end of '89. It was purchased new by what was called the Manned Space Center of Houston. This is a 1963 was when this one was made. It wasn't used, then it was sent to Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma City, where it sat in storage and wasn't used. And when I purchased it in 1989, it was still in Cosmoline and brand new. It had never been plugged in, so I'm really the only person that's ever ran this machine. I've built over 3,000 roof inserts and door skins on it over the last 26 or 7 years. And then this is my 36-inch Chicago pneumatic planishing hammer. I've had it since about 92, I guess, something like that. And then my most specialized machine I have, I'd say, is the Urco flanger. It's for doing all the flanges. Between this machine and the Pullmax, you're only limited by your imagination. With the flanger and a Pullmax, you can make some really cool shit. And I've graduated high school in '79. I was thinking about what I was going to do, and my thoughts were, you got to find one of those 34 Fords. I found this car in San Pedro, California. Now, everything in my life up to that point was from California. BMX, motocross, now hot rods. The instant I rolled into Southern California and got in the heart of it all, I felt like I was home. This is where I wanted to be. I leave and go home. I get my car. The bottom of the doors are rusted. So I bought these patch panels. I didn't know anything about metal shaping. I just had my magazine that showed how to, you buy this tool and it makes a flange, and you overlap the metal, and then you burn it in with your MIG welder and grind it down, and it's supposedly ready to go. That was my metal training right there out of a hot rod magazine. And I MIG weld this son of a bitch on there, and then I grind it down and I feel of it, and it is a total disaster. So before it's over with, I have the inner panel of the door cut out, and I'm in my driveway with a claw hammer. I got that door upside down, face down, on the cement, pounding and pounding that metal into the concrete, the whole time thinking, this isn't right, there has to be a better way. About the time I finished up that car, this magazine came out. First off, there's this dude on this motorcycle, so it's like rad to begin with, and then it's what? A 34 full fendered 3-window, badass. But there was this one little picture right here. And that's Scott Knight on his Trippin' C power hammer building a 32 Ford rear fender from scratch. This itty bitty bitty picture changed my life. So I made a trip with my car out here because I wanted to get the top fixed, and I went in Scott Knight's shop. And when I went in Scott Knight's shop, he had his power hammer sitting there. I was in there 15 minutes, and I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to do with my life. This is it. This is what I've been looking for. So he's got these long, beautiful welds on these fenders he's put together, and I go, hey, Scott, did you MIG weld those together? And he says, son, if you're MIG welding sheet metal together, you are lost. And I said, well, dude, I'm lost. And he says, well, let me show you. And he took 2 pieces of sheet metal together, tacked them together, welded them, showed me how to do it, changed everything, sent me down the road. In the main shop here, we got some projects going on. We're chopping this 32 3-window. It's going to have a 5.5-inch chop. And then this 32 5-window, doing a chop, this United Pacific body, and we're going to finish getting it welded up. 34 Ford. It's going to be gasser style, 60s looking, you know, jacked up in the front, jacked up in the back, blown small block 471, our blower stuff on it. It's going to be a really cool car. It's going to be a fun project. On this wall over here is where I have my Baileigh equipment. If you watch the series that we're doing with Baileigh, we're building a roadster pickup body from scratch, and we're doing half of it with the old equipment and the other half with the new equipment, the Baileigh equipment, and to see the pros and cons of each machine. It's really been a fun series. It's pretty interesting. You might find it entertaining. I got one of their magnetic brakes. I'm still learning to use as efficiently as some of this cool stuff I've seen on the internet about them. This is my little kick shrinkers from Baileigh. I just cannot say enough about how good this little kick shrinker is. Gotta get you one. This is the power hammer. It's all electric controlled. We have one of the series where we talk about how the mechanics of this machine and the Yoder are very similar. They're different but similar. Very cool. A lot of information on the power hammer. This is the MH19, and it's a kind of a combination machine. It can be, you can pull this pin or put this pin in that's up here, and it can either be a power hammer or reciprocating like a pull max. And we've used it in the series for doing some beading, some shrinking, linear stretch. And then this is the English wheel that they sent me to try. I've never used an English wheel, and I've had many failures on attempting to use this machine. So I'm still learning on this. I'm going to try to get Luke DeLay to come over here and give me some tips, because I need them. And we're going to film that. This is the Baileigh kick shrinker that's designed by Chris Rush, that's extremely versatile. You can adjust for your thickness of metal with this hand hammer. These jaws are magnetically installed, so you can unclick these and put the shrink jaws in or stretch jaws. One night, Merchant, Urco, and Chris Rush got drunk. Before you know it, 9 months later, this is what we got. It's an amazing piece of equipment. I'd met people from around the country, and we got to be friends, and we were all scouring the land looking for equipment. And before you know it, we're buying and selling and trading with each other all over the country. That's how we got our equipment. That's how I found out about my Yoder. That's how I found out about my planishing hammer and my pull max. and my flanging machine. It was all word of mouth and just scouring the planet looking for this. There was nothing new to be bought. Everything had to be old. But thankfully, 30 years later, we got companies like Baileigh that are making brand new, amazing equipment that is readily available. Is it the Yoder? Is it the Pettingill? No, it's not, but it's Baileigh stuff. Baileigh has been a part of the social media scene since there was social media. Shane Henderson has done an amazing job of promoting Baileigh and getting the word out there, you know. His mission in life is to spread the good word of metal shaping. So, you know, Baileigh came around when the industry needed it. Social media came around when the industry needed it, because it was truly dying on the vine. After finding a 34 Ford and going through all of that, I finally wound up with this 34 Ford. And this is the one I had taken to California and had some metal work done, and I met Scott Knight. He was in the shop next door. This car, I've chopped it, since I've had it, I've chopped it 3 different times, put the hinges back on it, got rid of the hidden hinges, and I've filled the roof 4 different times. Leaned the back of the roof back on the last chop, bringing everything in to finally get it to what I like. I got this car when I was 25 years old. I'm now 60 years old, so I've never driven it. So I've been trying to get good enough to build this car. So obviously I'm not good enough yet. So I'm going to keep practicing, and hopefully before I die, I get to cruise around in my 34 Ford. And then this car here is the Spanish Fly, my 1946 Ford. This was my daily driver when I first came to California. I drove it every day for 5 or 6 years. Put 133,000 miles on a flathead before the flathead finally blew the head gaskets. Been restoring it. It's been taking forever, of course, you know, running the shop, projects, working on the 46 again and get it on the road. Metal shaping chose me. I walked into Scott Knight's shop and that was it. It chose me. And because of that, it's taken me from a small town in Texas working in an oil refinery to getting to travel around the United States. Built some really cool cars, the Sniper. Got to race at Bonneville, had my own streamliner. Went to work for SoCal Speed Shop. Got to work at Detroit up in Michigan in the wind tunnel at Jack Roush's place for 6 months. I've gotten to do so much because of the sheet metal shaping. And I've met so many wonderful people. And some of the heroes I had coming up in the hot rodding world actually became some of my closest friends. So it's really been, metal shaping has made my life be a dream come true. We're in the golden era of metal shaping. Just look at what's being done, what's being created. Look at how young these guys are. You guys are young and strong, and you got this work ethic, and you don't want to quit at 5, you want to quit at midnight. And that is what's propelling metal shaping and this industry and the passion for it forward. And it's not a dying art anymore.